John Robertson, your volunteer librarian for Oscar, back as promised with part two of organizing your eForms. As I mentioned in part one, this part we're going to talk about changes that will affect everybody that uses your installation of Oscar. And as I suggested, I would recommend before you go ahead and do this that you get together as a group and decide how you want to proceed. Um, Also, when you get together, um, you're going to see later on that it's going to be helpful for you to decide some names for some eForm groups and also to write down at least the beginning part of the name of the eForm that you're going to put into the eForm groups. Before we get to that, I'm going to show you a quicker way to organize things that may be useful for some of you if you wish to go in this direction. We're here in the eForm library. You'll remember that you get to this by going to Administration and then going to Manage eForms, and then you get to your eForm library. What I want to point out right now is that the first three columns in your eForm library, these are all in blue, and you can actually select any one of these to organize your eForms. So right now the eForms are organized by modified date, the newest ones at the top and the oldest ones at the bottom. Now I can actually reverse that order and find out what the oldest ones are. If I use the arrow that's thick at the bottom and narrow at the top, that's my oldest eForms. And then if I click on modified date again, I get back to the newest eForms. We can also do this with the names. So eForm names, we'll organize it with the ones and the threes, and then after the numbers come the letters. If I want to reverse that order, click on the arrow that points up, and we get the form that starts with a Z as the first form, and then the Y's, then the W's, and so on. Now, I would recommend, and most people that write eForms would recommend, that you don't change the name of an eForm once it's been made. The reason behind this is there is the ability in Oscar to link from one eForm to another eForm, and that link is dependent on the name of the eForm. And if you change the name of the eForm, that link or button inside the one eForm will be broken and it won't be able to jump to the other eForm. So by and large, we would recommend that once an eForm has been named, that you leave the name the way it is, unless you are willing to go into the other eForms that it's linked to, and you know which other eForms that it's linked to, and change the name in those eForms as well. Overall, probably better just to leave the name the way it is. Having said that, that doesn't mean that you can't change the information in additional information. And in fact, that's not going to affect the buttons at all. So these eForms can also be organized by additional information. And if we click on additional information, the blanks come first before anything else. We click on that up arrow button again, and we have Y's, then W's, then V's. Now, suppose you want your eForms in a group that you can find easily. You could put a Z at the beginning of the additional information. And when you go into additional information and you click on that up arrow, you'll get the Z's coming up first, and you can find the forms that you want to find. Or if you want to group them by your initials, you can scroll down until you find your initials, and then all of the ones with your initials will be in that group, and you can go in that direction. Modified date, of course, gets us back to the newest ones at the top and the oldest ones at the bottom. Now, As you may have remembered if you watched the first video, I have almost 700 eForms here, some of which I should probably get rid of, but that's going to make it difficult for me to organize things that way necessarily. So it's probably going to be better for me to organize them in terms of eForm groups. So we're going to go to eForm groups here, and I'm going to make a new eForm group. I'm going to call it infertility, and I'm going to add that group. So there it is now. It's blank. It has no eForms inside it. You can have eForms for your lab requisitions. You can have eForms for your imaging requisitions. You can name it whatever you want. So back to what I said at the beginning, agree as a group what you want to name the group, and then you can go and pick that group. And when you go to the group with the lab requisitions, you can find your lab requisitions, and then you can move on from there. If you have a lot of prenatal referrals, you can have a prenatal 1 group for the first visit for your prenatals, and then you can put whatever you wish to by adding an eForm into this prenatal 1 group. Back to the infertility group here, which has no eForms in it. This is the second part of what I said at the beginning. If you write down the names of the eForms you want to put into this group, it'll be easier for you, because adding an eForm pulls up a drop-down list of all the eForms that you have in your server. So those 680 some eForms that I have are all going to show up on this list. Now I do happen to know a couple of names of eForms that I'm going to want in this group. So there is a referral place called Genesis Fertility. Now you'll notice that the 2017 there, that's when they put out that form. I put it into my server, into my installation of Oscar on the 1st of March 2018. So if you had 2 of these Genesis Fertility referrals, the one with the newer date would be the one you probably would want to pick. So I'm going to pick that one, and I'm going to add that to the group. And now my infertility group has 1 eForm in it. Let's add another one. I also know that PCRM is an infertility place, and I can refer patients to them as well. So if I go down to the P's, there's the PCRM referral, and the referral form was from 2016, but I put it into my server in 2020, so that's a new form. We're going to add that to the eForm group, and now I've got 2 in that group. Now, if I go to my patient, Jessica Rabbit, and I go to her encounter, and I click on the plus sign for eForms here. There's an infertility group right here. And if I click on the infertility group, there we go. Genesis Infertility and PCRM Infertility. I can refer her to one of these 2 places. And away we go. That is eForm groups, and that is organizing eForms using additional information. Hopefully that was helpful for you.